Welcome to DC Universe Online, presented to you for Chronicles of Earth Nine. It's a hero's adventure for today. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell to be notified when our newer videos come out. I'm Agamemnon. I'll be your host for today. The running time on this is going to go a little over an hour, probably about 15 to 20 minutes over. This is the premiere episode, and the remaining videos we're going to try to get under somewhere close to an hour. Seems to be a reasonable time, although a lot of times when we record the clips they go over an hour. We generally play this Friday through Tuesday, which is our streaming week on stream. We play for about 3 hours, and it's usually the middle game. It's a good transitional game from World of Tanks, which we start playing around midnight, and then this we start around 3 a.m. Play this till about 6 a.m. and then at 6 a.m. we switch to Farming Simulator 19 and finish out the stream with we streamed out till about 9 a.m. So this is a really cool game. I've been playing this game since it was released, if I remember correctly, in 2010, in the later part of 2010. I always remember it around November or December, but earlier in the year, in February, that's when Star Trek Online came out. We were making a series on that, so hope you take a look at it. But it follows that. Of course, both these games, we've hit their 10-year anniversary mark, which is kind of nice. And I personally have never... give you some background. I had my first experience with then Sony Online Entertainment, which became Daybreak Games. It wasn't a really good one. I had bought this game called Star Wars Galaxies. It came out in around 2002, 2003 timeframe, and it was modeled heavily from EverQuest, which was actually a really good game. But a lot of things happened with that game, and then I basically got a divorce from the game. It was really tough because it was the first negative experience I had with a game and a set of producers, and I swore off Sony Online Entertainment, and then decided to that's how I ended up playing World of Warcraft and City of Heroes. And then break the presents and get your prizes. So when City of Heroes was sunsetting, and I had was playing Champions Online, which was a superhero game based on the old Champion Heroes RPG game back in the 80s. It's a really cool game, and that game was based on that. And then I played that for a while I was waiting for Star Trek Online to come out of beta. I was part of the beta for Champions Online and Star Trek. And then I didn't do the beta for DC Universe. I came in just right as the beta ended. And then this game was me giving Sony Online Entertainment a second chance, and I was never been really disappointed with the game. At that time, I had categorized all my games where I at least had one like fantasy game, a fantasy sci-fi, like a space game, and then fantasy, sci-fi. This was a superhero genre game. And then I had the typical fantasy, which was World of Warcraft game. And then this game filled the superhero niche. Was waiting on Star Wars: The Old Republic to come out, which I liked that game a lot, but I had a falling out with Electronic Arts recently, and waiting for that to get resolved. So I haven't been playing Star Wars: The Old Republic in a while, but I might play that again. But I'll have to reconsider. But this game was actually the one that I think overall of all the, it's only really two superhero genre games, this and Champion Online. Champion Online is okay, but I think DC Universe Online is a little bit better. I feel if you compare it to City of Heroes, I think City of Heroes from a game playing point of view was a little better. I think it was a little more customizable, but I think DC Universe is a little simpler in terms of the way you interface with the game. The interface, they've narrowed it down to 7 powers on your tray. But you have the expanded tray where they added on the utility bar. That was added in a little later than when the game released, but at launch, I went out and got the game on PS3 and on PC. And then later on, they merged the servers about 2016, 2017 timeframe. They merged the PC server and the PS4 server. And there's been talk of merging it with the Xbox server and the Switch server, which Switch, they just started on Switch just in 2020, early in 2020, I believe. And I imagine that'll happen, but there'll be some serious modification that would have to be done to the PS4 and PC side. Not really game modification, but you'd have to ramp up the player economy. The player base on the player economy would have to, in the PC and PS4, it would take a big hit. Mainly because they've been around longer, and so their economy is a lot bigger, and there's a lot more people on this. However, I think most people in the game would see the value of that and take the hit. And then, but you would get a much larger population of people, because then you would have the Switch people and then the Nintendo people playing together, and that would be pretty awesome. One of the few games that could do it. And I think this game, for me, when I first started playing it, it was more of a casual. I wasn't really playing it serious. Like some people, they played like the Rays. They play it like they got to do it every day or else. But I didn't really play this game that way, and I think that's why I've had a really good experience with it through the entire time. 10 years, 11 years now, going on 11 years, I think. Anyway, here's our premier character, Roxy Symbiote. She's based on our fan fiction series. You're following our Wonder Woman fan fiction series. Our lead character, Wonder Woman, Athenata, most people know as Diana Prince. She ends up getting accidentally transported to Apocalypse, which in our fan fiction is essentially a future Earth. When I do time travel, like future travel, the time travel doesn't occur within the same universe. So like our universe, all the stories take place in the 9th universe. So like Earth 9, that's the Earth we're on. So she goes to Apocalypse, but it's in a different universe. And she's there for 30 days, and then she comes back. But because she was in another universe, the Titans that are bound to the 9th universe, they couldn't detect her, and so everyone thought she died, right? But when she returns to Earth 9, 30 days later, she discovers that it's 5 years late. For everyone else, 5 years had passed. And the reason for that was there's a parallax effect that occurs in space, with time and space. because she was in another universe that's moving in what we call the Great Energy Void, and they were moving in two different time exists at least differently in both universes. And then so the way I do my time travels within that universe, it may be different than other universes, but you can't travel within time within the same universe, right? And that's because time is a constant in the universe. But due to the parallax effect or distances involved, she ended up coming back 5 years later. And so everyone else, they think she died and she moved on. And so this is our DC Universe Online version of that character. And when she was on Apocalypse, she merged with this other alien called Roxy. Doesn't have a last name. But and in that, they became this other being. Evanescent Spirit is what we call it in the book. But it's essentially, it combines Banshee and a vampire and an Angelico being. If you could merge three beings of Angelico nature, angel, vampire, and Banshee into one type of organism, that's sort of what they are. But they don't, in the ninth universe, they don't consume other organisms' blood or have to eat them in case of a lycanthrope. In ninth universe are angelical beings, and they get their rejuvenate their spirit through interfacing with other living organisms. That's the nice way of saying they have a lot of sex. But anyway, that's how our character got here. And what I like to do when I start off my day in DC Universe is I like to warm up. And this is one of the... I do the vault, get that out of the way, and then I do this as my second warm up. It's basically get all my controls going, especially with that character. I have over 70 characters in the game. Hard to remember what all the controls are, because when I set up my characters, there are always something different about them, so I have to I like to warm up to make sure I got all my powers correct. Usually when I get through all the main warm-ups, usually pretty good at that point. I usually remember. I have a cheat sheet, which I'm going to put up. There we go. That's the cheat sheet. This is done, and that's the sticky pad that comes with Microsoft Windows. I just make it there. It's a simple one. If you see there at the top, it's a DC Universe note. It's the character type. All my characters are hybrid characters, and I'll go into that a little more later. And then I write down the damage powers, and they put a little note there in brackets of what the buffs are or debuffs are. Like Benediction is a heal over time power, and then when you do the combo, it combos into Malediction. Malediction is a heal over time power, and when you do the combo, it gives you a Benediction. So forth. Her next power would be Curse. You have a heal over time power, and it combos into Renew. And then you have the finishing move, Defile. And then Amazon Deflection gives you a block plus shield. That's what it does. And then Anoint is the weapon buff power. And then when she switches into her healer mode, it's bold and underlined. That tells me that that's her primary power set in DC Universe. When you make a character, you have to pick what your primary and secondary role is. In this case, being a hybrid character, she's a healer main, and damage is her secondary role. So I put the note there that healer underline means that's her primary. Okay, and then her first power is Benediction, which is a heal over time power, and it combos into Malediction. Virtuous Light is a heal over time. It's a dot power. It purifies people, and it combos into Plague. The Blessing is a shield power, and it combos into Death Mark. Admonish is a group heal. It also it takes purified people and adds to that. It's a cone attack, and it combos into Blight. Renew is a priority heal, which is DOT power. Yeah, move that over. There we go. I moved it over so you can kind of see the stuff going. I put it in the format of, if you look at our video novels, which we call novels, it's in that sort of format where the textual stuff's on the right side of the screen and the 3D animations on the left side. But I'm gonna try an experiment here. I don't know if it'll work, but never mind. Anyway, as I was saying, then you have her different powers, and then I write the combat mods below that, what they are, and then along with artifacts. And then on some of them, on the newer ones, I've been putting the augments on there since I decided to make a video. I think it would be more helpful. But you see the stuff in bold there. What that means is down there where you have the combat mods and artifacts, well, they affect your different power to have an interaction. And so if it's bolded, that means the bold artifact or bold combat mod affects the power up top. And then if they're underlined with bold, that means it's being affected by more than one power. And then so forth. And then if they're italicized, that means they're being affected by 3 powers or more. And what they are. And that's how that works. Put that away for now. We'll go into more detail in a little later. But getting back to the action, and I always make those cards for all my characters, that way, because I have 70 plus characters, and that's how I remember what all the buttons are. This character is a celestial healer. Again, she's a hybrid character, and what that allows you to do is using your inside your superpower base as a device, and that device allows you to store your appearance, but it also allows you to switch out your form in battle. And with your generator, you can do up to 4 different appearances. But I use it mainly as a hybrid character. When you're in battle, that's the only way you can switch out your role in battle. Now, when I'm soloing, I primarily switch into DPS because I don't have to heal anybody, so except myself. So I switch into DPS. Cool thing with Celestial power set, especially in DPS, is Celestial allows you to, while you're fighting, it converts the damage energy into health, and I think it's one of the strengths of Celestial as a power set. We'll go into that in a little bit more detail as the episode progresses. But I'm returning to base. See, there's I brought up the changes, so I switched back into heal mode. And then I normally always repair. This is our upkeep. Lately in the game, I've been not doing upkeep after every single mission. What I'll do is I'll take the pertinent thing that you need, but any main changes to the character, I usually just mark it with the little marking tool there that prevents you from deleting it. And then at the end of the night, after I go through all my missions, then I'll do all that at one time rather than because it can take a long time when you're going between missions, especially if you're updating your character. And I have discovered through experience that just doing it at the end of the night or gaming session for that particular character, or sometimes I play more than one character, it speeds up your time. You can get a lot more missions in, and then just at the end of the night, upgrade your character. I call it upkeep. Period. And it's kind of cool. So we're going down. The third thing I do is the staple. I always do I do the vault, then I do that Superman one because it has combat in there, and I can go into my DPS role. And then this one I normally warm up because it's with another person, so it's a very easy mission. And then sometimes I'll stay in my healer row, but a lot of times I'll switch out to DPS to make sure the point of it is to make sure I know what all my buttons are. That way when I go out to the game and offer my services, I'm all warmed up and ready to go. Inform. Now, Celestial Healer, I think a lot of people say electric healer is more powerful, but I doubt it. Especially when you're a hybrid character. I'll go more into hybrid in a little bit, but what makes Celestial sort of the strength of the power set is your ability to convert energy, be it negative energy or positive energy, into like if a lot of people are throwing negative energy at you, you can convert it to positive energy, which heals rather than destroys. And that's really the strength in it. Once you chain your powers correctly, you go through your power chain or loop your powers, I refer to it as workflow. It's just an endless battery of health and damage. And in Chronicles of Earth 9, that's really the role of Athenata in the story. She's a healer in the story. And she's in the story, she represents the Holy Spirit, which is energy, a pure being of energy and living energy. And she lives at the crossroad between negative and positive energy, because both energy itself is neither positive or negative, but when it encounters matter or infused with matter, it can be used for positive and negative things. And it's really the way people choose to interpret positive and negative. Real things don't have really a positive or negative aspect. That's just the way the human mind works, sort of a binary understanding and to relate to things in the world. Brain has essentially a us and them sort of way it categorizes the world. And that's understandable because you're you, and then everything at the environment in you. The environment is the thing between you and another organism, and then the other organism. And so when you're walking around in the environment, um, the different people, places, and things you encounter are usually always some type of binary relationship. And then in Chronicles of Earth 9, because it's a psychological story, we are dealing with the psychological issues, and it's told in an anthropological way, because that's my two areas of expertise. So two areas I can write about with confidence. But then through the game, through the stories, we can demonstrate complex relationships and mental processes and behaviors that they lead to. And then when you interact with other people, their behaviors and relationships that as a result of all that. So here we are, we're back here. We finished our thing, did our stabilizer mission. And by the way, I should say that this episode was recorded on the 9th of January 2021 at 3:56 a.m. in the morning. The voiceover is being recorded on the 19th of January 2021 at 5:11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So here we're doing the daily, and what that is if you're new to DC Universe or have never played DC Universe, every day in DC Universe you have these dailies that you do. Once you get past level 30 and you start working on your combat rating, if you look at the number up top there where it says 310, that's the combat rating of the character. Everybody's level 30, but the first 30 levels of the game is really just a tutorial, and then that's to they give you 30 levels to get it together, get your powers organized, and until you kind of know where everything's at. And then once past level 30, that's when you start really building your combat rating, where everyone maxes at level 30. And then combat rating is the way that basically as your character goes on, it becomes getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And I think currently the top end of that combat rating is around 320. It was like at 2 something there for a long time, but recently they just increased it to around 320, I think. Now, one of the greatest things about DC Universe as a game is it allows lower combat rated characters to play with higher rated combat. So up there you see everyone's been buffed to 310, so every character here, player, is below 310, so they cap you. They basically buff you in the game. That allows everybody in the game to play together, no matter what your levels are. Now, if you're playing the elite version of this, you should be at a minimum a CR or 310. You should never go play a elite raid if you're not at a minimum CR of that level. If you're below that level, you should stay in the non-elite version of that. And that allows you to get the basic idea of the story. You get the basic idea of how the map, where everything is. And then, but the elite, you should really know a lot about that particular raid, the boss you're fighting, and what you have to do. And that just makes everyone else's experience a little bit better. And, so here I'm a healer. There's another healer on the team, and then you have a damage dealer and then a tank. I think one of the guys ended up bailing on us in the middle of the battle. One of the things I think people have to learn when they're playing DC Universe is that you're not a static character. You have to learn to adapt to the battle, and a hybrid character really embodies that in the game. In the game, you have three type of characters that you can build. You can be a hybrid character. You can be a superpower focused character. Some people would call it a might-based character. And then you have the precision-based character, or weapons, more skill-based versus superpower-based. So if you have a character, say you want to make a character that's like a Batman type of character, he's more of a skilled, like he uses technology to give him powers, basically. And then he himself, but to utilize those technology, he does it through skill and training. And then you have the people who are superpower focused. They have abilities and powers that they're born with, called metahumans or altered humans. And then they have skill in what they're doing, but beyond, they don't really have a high level of skill, but they rely on powers. And then you have the hybrid, which is best of both worlds. You're a highly skilled player and a highly a lot of powers. And my theory on that is hybrid characters, you have to really know what you're doing in the game. You have to know the fights, you have to know the encounters. You have to know when you're in the battle, you're thinking in kind of a tactical and strategic way. You have to be very aware of what's situational awareness of what's going on, so that, see, like we have two healers on the team. There's one tank and there's one DPS, or DPS is your damage dealer. And to speed up the battle, I have to look at how the other healer is doing, and if necessary, I then have to switch into DPS, help speed up the combat a little. And this being the first boss that we're encountering, I'm kind of evaluating that with the team that we have. And I think halfway through this battle I change out into DPS. If I'm remembering correct, I play this battle like every day, so but a lot of times I'm in a different character. Excuse me. And then
That was such a cool fight. You were fucking amazing.
I think the tank bells on us
I mean,
in the middle of the fight.
are we all good, Brainy?
Aside
So,
from my lab being completely destroyed,
I ended up
yes. And the food court's clear.
in one of these
Cosmo
battles. I ended up
Cassandra,
switching into
Lightning Rod, you
DPS.
On our way.
Be there soon.
coming? Whoa, Cosmic Boy, you got here fast.
Wait, what?
Myself, I always get lost on the. You know, there's a map in the corner. I always get disoriented in the battle, and it takes me a minute or two to kind of reorient myself to where I have to go. And when I'm on these type of missions, I'm highly reliant on the people around me to help me figure out where to go. Here I am, healing. Now, when you're a healer in this game, games that are Sony Online Entertainment, in this case Daybreak, combat is built around four pillars of combat here, and three of those pillars is your tank, healer, and controller. Now, all three of those characters are defensive combat units, or defensive elements, and they fight in what I call the triangle of defense. And it's the tank is usually the point person, and their responsibility is to crowd control people to a certain spot. They're the ones dictating where the combat's going to occur. And then the healer is there as a support unit, mainly for the tank. Their job is to either supplement or complement the tank's ability to stay alive. You're basically there to heal them, so that he doesn't have to expend a lot of mana or power in healing himself, and he can focus more on swinging his arm and maintaining aggro and damage mitigation and damage absorption, which I call staying power. And so when you lock up with a good healer, a tank, and pair them up together, the healer's real responsibility is to help that. And so from a damage mitigation point of view, say you have a strong boss, well, when he's throwing out his big whooping damage, he's having to what we call distribute that damage out between two guys instead of one person. So when you factor in the controller in there, who's the third part of that defense, the triangle, the damage that they're throwing at you is distributed by a factor of 3.
He's been through
And
worse.
between the three, you have to form that little
We'll make sure more
pocket, defensive pocket there.
Great.
And then
Brainiac 5.
by
is
anchoring the
deputy
battle,
I guess
let
you're
me
in
do the
charge now.
controller first. The controller's responsibility is to crowd control beyond the range of the tank. The tank does it in close proximity, arm's length battle, basically, and the controller does it beyond arm lengths battle. There's our stats there. Did pretty good. And all three of those characters make that triangle defense. And so when I skill out my characters, whether they're controller, tank, or healer, they're skilled out very similarly, and then they're played very similarly in terms of you have to know how to tank. Now, although there is a specific role for tanking, everybody needs to know how to tank in the game, at least what it does in the game. Everybody needs to know how to crowd control, because to some limited ability, everybody tanks in the game, and everybody essentially crowd controls in the game. And what that does is it prevents the enemy force from massing firepower on the team. And it allows you to manage the battle in a way that you're taking the damage in chunks and clusters. And you're containing the battle in a way that your damage dealers don't have to do a lot of running around, whether they're skill-based or superpower-based or a hybrid. It doesn't matter. They don't have to run around and waste a lot of time doing stuff they don't need to be doing, which is focusing their firepower. And so, but the way that they handle defense is structurally different, because tank, healer, and controller have their responsibility is their role is a little different. But even though they're all defense, the healer in this case, since it's a healer character, you have to know how to absorb damage. You have to know how to mitigate damage, and you have to be very aware of what the tank is doing in the game. And you have to watch them. And so, and it's very difficult to do that because there's a lot going on. There's all the pyrotechnics going on, and you got to be mindful of what the data's telling you, and keep them alive at all costs. And then that goes a long ways in the survival of the entire team, I think. Going to visit John Constantine.
Phantom Stranger's
Whenever I
been out of
get
touch with reality,
28
but
or
he's
more
okay.
source marks,
Think he
I go
predates
visit
human,
John
though.
Constantine. I would do it in steps of 7s. Because that's the money usually goes in steps of 7 when you're dealing with marks. So I always wait till I get 28 marks before I go visit him. We're doing some upkeep here. We're upkeeping our artifacts and augments. And artifacts are devices that you add to your character profile. You have 3 slots. And what they do is they give buffs to, they're mainly group oriented. And the cool thing with artifacts is even though you load them up, you're not stuck with them. You can change them out at any time, and it's specific to the fight you're in. You can change it on the fly. Now the way I set mine up is, for my healer row, I set 3 specific for healer,
Bloody
and then when I
heroes.
switch out to
They bloody
DPS,
villains.
I have
I think Brainiac has
another
given us
set of
all
3
a
that are
favour,
damage
thin in the
focused.
herd.
But I usually try to pick artifacts that are you can take advantage of what role you're in. It takes advantage of both those roles. And if you read a lot of the artifacts that are designed for the hybrid character, you can really understand what they're saying. Now, problem that you're going to have when you run into, especially with people in this game, is that they most people cater the superpower build because that's really the flavor of the month type, because it's the easiest character to make. It's the easiest to skill out. And then usually you'll have the the skill based weapon, because those are the people that don't want to be superpower focused, so they do the opposite of it, which is they go precision based type of character. And then, but the problem that has created in the game overall is I would say 90% of the people that play this game don't really understand hybrid characters because they don't make them, and they just write it off. And I think that's a disservice, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to make a video series on this game, is show that hybrid characters actually are a very productive character. And you have to really understand how statistics works to really understand what the hybrid character bring, the value they bring to a team. I'll go into that in a little bit more detail, but hybrid characters aren't the type of character where you're you hit one button, the battle's over. They're not a one button, I win button type of character. With hybrid, it makes you work for your success, and I like that because if you think about how many times you can hit the button in a 1 minute of time, on average, most people, there's 60 seconds in a minute, so that means there's 60 intervals of battle, right? So you could theoretically hit the button 60 times in a battle, and every time you hit the button, you want to get a quality result out of that. Now, for people that are DPS, or damage per second, damage dealer stir, in statistics, that's called a measurement of central tendency, and that means out of the 60 potential times you could hit that button, let's say, I'm going to just throw out a number, 30% of the time you're going to have a critical hit. And out of those 30, oh, actually 30% of 60 is what? 18. So out of 60 times you can hit the button, that means 30% of that would be 18 times you're going to get quality hits of higher damage. And then getting higher damage, out of that 18 times of your pool, a percentage of that will be high quality damage. Okay, which is usually somewhat less than that. We'll say 5% of that. So let's say 5%. That's out of the 18 critical hits, 9 of those hits are your big booming I win attacks, right? So that's compared to the 60 times you're swinging your arm, that's a very low amount. But because of the way statistics are, when you average all your numbers together, the average is going to come out to the 30%, right? And so on paper, it looks like you're doing a lot of damage. Now, where the hybrid character differs is that you're going across the spread of damage, and that means every instance that you're swinging your arm, you're damaging the foes. So every time you're hitting the character, every time you're hitting the foe, you're getting quality hits. And so so you're not reliant on like an outlier or the 18 times. You're every 60 minutes, every 60 instances, you're getting a good quality damage. And so on paper, it doesn't look like you're doing a lot of damage, but it's, as an example, let's say the maximum amount of damage you could do is 100, right? And then, but that's 100 times 60, right? So that's what, 6,000, right? Yeah, 6,000 that you do all together. And then when you average that together, it's only going to come out to be 100, right? But you're doing 6,000. But the average is only 60. And so on paper, because the game doesn't really, when you look at your statistics in the game, the spread of damage doesn't really, you can't really see it. You'd have to look at the entire data together to see where the spread of the damage occurred. But when you're a hybrid character, that's what your bread and butter, your gravy is that you're doing quality damage every time you're swinging your arm, and not just once in a while you get a good hit, good shot. But and that's the difference too. And then in battle, you kind of want that in a battle, because what that allows you, especially with the defensive oriented characters being the healer, tank, and controller, they're doing enough base damage or baseline damage, and with the ads that come in and lieutenants and so forth, that when the damage dealer, who's like either whether they're superpower focused or precision focused, that doesn't matter, they want their big booming attack on the main guy, like the boss and stuff. They don't want to divide their damage to like ads and other things, right? Because just like when the boss is fighting and he has to hit, he's attacking 3 people, and he has to distribute his big booming attack across 3 people, right? Well, that makes it harder for him to kill you. Well, it works the same way in reverse. If the main damage dealer can focus their attacks on the boss and stuff, you'll get through there a lot faster, because your character is providing a nice base line of damage and so forth. But where hybrid characters differ with precision or skill based is they don't burn through a lot of mana or power. and they generate their own power internally, and they generate their own health internally, and that's pretty good because for the people that are superpower focused or precision focused, this is mainly for the superpower focused ones. They're going to run out of energy really fast. At the same time, because they focused all their skill points into big boom and attack, that means they're weak as shit. They have no staying power. And the boss hits in one good hit, bam, die. And you'll see that in some of the battles that we're going to show where you're alive and all the people around you are dying. And that's because on paper they got big booming attacks, but they're weak as shit characters. They're little wusses. And then they're the ones you got to pick them up off the ground every time you turn around. They're dying, but because they have no staying power. And then, well, that's your role in the game. Your job as a hybrid character is to make it so when you have a healer and a controller regenerates power, and also their primary focus is mitigating damage and crowd control and preventing the enemy from massing fire on the team is really a real responsibility. But as a whole, all three characters, they do it in a way that when they go to heal, whether it be power or health, it maximizes the health of the damage dealer in the tank, and their power is regenerated. They can focus all that on the characters that really need it. Prioritize. And, coming up on the end of this segment, I'm going to go ahead and just make this one its own episode now that I see the time. But and then we're going to be back in episode 2, coming up on the 52-minute mark. So here we're doing our upkeep, but these events is basically the ones going on for the month. And if you do a lot of times if you're a lower character, you want to do the events ones because you can buff up to that's when everyone's doing it and they're very populated, and so you can get them out of the way and get some cool money out of it. Usually results in if you're a lower tune, you'll make a ton of money and experience. If you're a higher rated person, you get good loot, and money is always good. But the main thing is it allows everyone to socialize together and have fun and have a good time. Good time with 7 of your other comrades. So here we are. We're coming up on the end. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Remember to hit that notification bell. This has been a presentation of Chronicles of Earth 9. We'd like to thank our Patreon supporters who donate their real work money to our endeavor. And we'll be back for episode 2. See you there.